Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Raya want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach, or Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprises, the uproars out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but are building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing all they can do to magnify the Most High. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing, right? Sincerely reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking someone clean, and doing all of the righteous acts for our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf that are not married as of yet, building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they can do to magnify the Most High and the ministry. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, zealous of good works, reading, praying, fasting, abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, magnifying the Most High and his beloved son Yahweh Shah. But it's going to be an in-depth breakdown on what's going on in the world. If you don't know, we're living in the end of the world. Now it's time to be reading more, praying more, being more zealous, being more sincere, having more charity, being more fervent, being more on fire, being more zealous. Everything that you could possibly think our forefathers have done right before all hell broke loose is what you need to be doing right now. But let me share my screen. And we're going to dive right into it through the spirit and power of Yahweh in the name of his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Let's go to the mighty book of Second Esdras. Let's go to Second Esdras, chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. You have to be measuring. And when it says measure the time, meaning watch for prophecies, it's not talking about you take an actual measuring stick and you start to level things out like an architect. And what you do is you measure by watching the earth. You look at different events going on, man. You look at policies, you look at bills being passed, you look at the prophecy, the roaring of the nations, you look at these different things being passed, you start to measure it according to prophecy in the words of God. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, many you're marking and watching diligently, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Now, that doesn't mean you watch for a bomb and then that's the time wherein the highest will begin to visit the earth. When it says visit the earth, it means what? Let's go to the mighty book of Psalms. Brothers have to know what the Lord visiting the earth means. Stop just waiting for a bomb to drop, man. It's not the major prophecy is a bomb dropping. Then when a bomb drop, you finally take things serious, man. You're going to be EMP attacks, man. Famines, pestilences, all type of diseases. There's not going to be no work in Egypt, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 66 and verse 3. Saying to Yahweh, how terrible are thy works. So you have to look at the volcanoes, to look at the windstorms, man. Look at the earthquakes and look at the diverse things the Lord is doing, stirring up the earth. It says, through, right, the greatness of thy power, shall thy enemies submit themselves unto thee. Jumping down, all the earth shall worship thee and sing unto thee. They shall sing to thy name, Salah. Come and see the works of Yahweh. When it says come, it means examine, watch, be diligent, man. Some people just got to scroll and all they do is scroll, man. You know what scrolling is going to lead you into? Delusions, slothfulness, and a state of mind to where nothing is important. The only thing important is what you're looking at, your lust of the eyes. See, lust of the eyes is going to have a lot of people be put to death in the last days, man. Watch for these devices Esau has created. Watch for the different things that you lust after and continue in this world, man. Look for the world to come. We're looking and seeing the signs of the Most High, man. You can only do that as if you're outside. When I mean outside, I don't mean physically outside, but your mind is on the elements. Geographically, you're looking outside of electronics, work, right? Different things that plague you and bother you, spirits, right? It says he is terrible in his doing toward the children of men. So when the Lord said he would start to visit the earth, that's talking about the plagues that are written all throughout the scriptures. Let me read verse 2 again. Then shalt thou understand that is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when thou shalt be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, I can't name a time recently where hasn't been uproars of the people, man. You got all hell breaking loose in Venezuela. You got the government being shut down. You got Iran, Afghanistan. You have China, right? You have Russia, right? You have all of these nations gearing up for World War III. You have the US, the EU, right? NATO. Everybody's getting involved in an uprise, an uproar of military might, man. Drones. Sea. Every part of this earth is being uprised and uproared for war, man. It says, then shall thou well understand. See, before thou shalt just understand in verse 2. But after you see and watch the Lord visiting the earth, you should well understand. Certain things should be clear. It should be clear certain things through the Spirit. And one of those things is the signs of the times. It says that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So from the beginning of the world, men and prophets have been speaking about the end of the world. It's not anything new. And we have to carry on the same tradition, custom, and spirit that our forefathers have pushed, man. We haste toward the end of the world. A large amount of the scriptures is talking about the end of the world, man. You have to be in that same spirit. It's the book of Jude, chapter 1 and verse 14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these things. It's like it prophesied of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints, man. Way before certain men were even around prophesying this. Isaiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, Habakkuk, all of these different men, Nahum, shaking the hand, Micah. Before these men were set in their offices at their set seasons to prophesy these destructions, from the very beginning, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, in the name of his son Yahweh Shai, has sent prophets on the earth during the time of Adam, huh, to prophesy destruction. So how can we not speak the things which we have seen and heard, man? Is that not what Peter said? Let me get this quick precept before we dive into it. Hey, Peter said we cannot but yet speak the things which we have heard, man. This is the book, right, of Acts chapter 4 and verse 19. But Peter and John answered and said unto them, whether it be right in the sight of God to hearken unto you more, right, than unto Yahweh judge ye. See, men tell you to calm down that fire. You're getting too loud. Stop reading the Bible. Stop prophesying. Stop talking about World War III. Stop trying to be a prophet and go hard in the script. Stop. Calm down, man. A lot of people got demons and spirits on them trying to prevent that light from shining. And that light isn't man. It isn't that prophet. It's the Most High, man. It says, for we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. Meaning on a deeper level, if you have ears to hear, every man has a fire. Every man has a flame, which is his spirit, deep down within him that he cannot control. I never known man that could control, right, a fire that's consuming, that's combusting, out of control, man. Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 20 and verse 27. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord. Who turns up the candle? Who blows out the candle? The Most High God. He does all things. So if men cannot control to speak certain things, and our forefathers were zealous unto death about the things we're going over, then you have to really perceive, can you turn this down, man? And Jeremiah said, I would not yet speak in his name. But it was a fire, man. And that fire has to be kindled in each and every one of us, man. Every single time that fire starts to flicker through depression, anxiety, through everyday troubles, suffetings of his life, worrying, tribulation, these things kindle, right? And make that fire to go down instead of igniting. And you want to have that fire to be so on fire that it burns up everything around you, man. Meaning wickedness. The Lord said, this is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world, and men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil, man. Right? Let's go to it. Let's go back to the mighty book, right? Of Second Esdras. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go right back to that, and we're going to dive into it. It's the book of Second Esdras, right? Chapter 9, in verse number 4. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, right? For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning, right? Men are born, women are born, right? You have garments, they're sewn, but then they wax away through the moth, right? Through deception, right? Through different things. You have water, it dries up. Different things are created and or exist, but they all have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, meaning it's shown to you. It's plain. All you have to do is read and watch, right? Let's dive into it. Now check this out. For brothers that don't know, the government is shut down, right? And this is one of many things that are showing you the economic collapse of Babylon the Great. See, a lot of people think Babylon the Great through its infinite money, trillions of dollars, through its wealth, through its theftery and thievery, through silver, gold, brass, iron, and different elements, and then being set in the middle of the sea of a navy of ships, that they're going to continue on with their riches and fare sumptuously all the day long, man. But nevertheless, the Lord is in control of all of these things, man. And the Lord has shut down, right, the government, right, and the establishment of power, right, for men for not to be able to eat, men for making it hard for businesses. No, even myself, man. My job cutting the hours. All praise to the Most High. And I'm looking forward at a prophetic, logical, wise way of thinking that, you know, not to worry, but these things have to come to pass, man. Who are we not to be touched by the Most High? The whole earth will witness the things we're reading about, man, even the righteous. It says the federal government is still shut down. Here, what's the mean in your community, man? Look at this. It is day 23 of the federal government shutdown, and the Republic and Democrats appear no closer to an agreement to end it. Without a fix, many federal employees will not be getting paid tomorrow. Imagine that, man. Imagine you work all week and you don't get paid. Imagine you slaving, you punching a clock. Whatever you're doing, man, whether you're typing on a typewriter, whether you're vocally expressing things by timelines and charts, whether you're writing up reports, typing up essays, whether you're beating the ground, whether you're sweating, whether you have a helmet on, matter you're all the way up in the sky, working on screws and cranes, no matter what it is, if you're in the government and they're withholding pay, how do you think that's going to affect the people, man? You think these people are going to continue to fare sumptuously, laugh, joke, and be in mirth when all hell was breaking loose, man? People got children to feed. They got houses to maintain. They got luxuries, right? And different things that they want to do to enjoy for themselves. They're not going to be able, if this continues, right, to be silent, man. It's going to create sedition, uprises, and uproars, man. Let me get this quick precept. Let you touch the so-called Negro's wallet, man, and see if you don't pull something on you, man. Pull a strap on you. Rob you. Run in your house. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. And we're entering into days where the earth will be dark. And yes, dark of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We always talk about that, but dark in the manner of the care you will have for your neighbor, man. The Lord said in the book, let me get this quick precept before I get there. The Lord said in the book of Job, right? His mercy is toward his neighbor. This is the book of Job, chapter 6, in verse number 14. To him that is afflicted, which many men are, pity should be shewed from his friend. See, pity showed from your friend when they're on hard times. You can sleep on my couch. Everything's going to be all right. You know what you need. And I'll let you borrow, you know, maybe $200, $100, $50. You need some gas. Pity should be shewed from your neighbor, but he forsaketh, right, the fear of the Almighty. See, certain people, they show pity, right? to their neighbors and different things like that. But we're entering into days where those days are going to be cut short, man. You're not going to be thinking about loaning and giving and being merciful and being loving and being compassionate and giving the things that, certain men have and certain men are given, man. Right? Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 18 and 13. The mercy of a man is toward his neighbor. There you have it again, another witness. But again, prophecy is going to turn the temperature all the way up, man. And for you brothers that think you in this truth, it will be put on trial. You sisters that really think you in this truth, it will be put on trial. Being in this truth isn't believing in the Most High. That can't be the end all be all, man. Many men believed in the Lord, man. The Pharisees seen the Lord in the flesh. They believed in the Most High. But those men really wasn't in this truth. Your heart has to be tested through the fire. And these are the days where temperature is starting to increase. It says, but the mercy of the Lord is upon all flesh. He reproveth and nurtureth and teacheth and bringeth again as a shepherd his flock. He have mercy on them that receive discipline and that diligently seek after his judgments. So you have to diligently seek and inquire after the judgments of the earth and the judgments that the Most High puts on you. Right, let me go back to that. It says, without a fix, many federal employees will not be getting paid tomorrow. The first full paycheck they'll miss as a result of the shutdown, man. People going to stop going to work. And what is that going to mean for these factories? Who's going to keep the electricity on? Who's going to run the mail? Who's going to run payroll, HR? Who's going to run the establishments that are set in stone, man? The Lord said in the book of 2nd Esdras, right? Let me get this quick precept, the 5th chapter. Check this out. It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 5, and I'm going to start at verse number 7. And the Sodomite sea shall cast out fish. Now, when it says the Sodomite sea, meaning these nations, they lay in bed with each other, right? Through all type of currency exchange, right? Through government policies, foreign relations, right? Through governments and allies and war. They all lay in bed. So this sea, which represents the nations, are all in bed together. It says, shall cast out fish. The fish are men. And make a noise in the night. See, the night is where there's no light. Who's going to be making noise? These nations. These are seditions, uprisers, uproars of the people, which many have not known. Meaning, your land right now in your city, you have not known an uprise. You have never seen a sedition. You've never seen a raid, breaking into a store, man. While babies are on the ground and stomping them over them, man. You have something called Black Friday. Look at this. And people kill at Black Friday, man. They stomp, they raid. And all of this is for the sake of a discount. Making it 50% off, 40% off. People lose their mind, man. You got people and thieves, they wait in the parking lot. They follow you home. And it's utter mayhem. Now, if this is a normally, established life in a society, what do you think is going to happen when there are only 3 left watermelons on the shelf? It's only about 4 more packets of beef. Corn is running low. And all of the cabinets, right, and the shelves of, the string beans and the greens and different things are all wiped away. People are going to start losing their mind, right? Check this out. It says, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. Meaning you're going to perceive and hear from sea to sea what's going on. It says there should be confusion also in many places, man. And there's confusion right now in many places. And the fire shall be all sent out again. The fire are the judgments, right? The fire is the destruction and the judgments and the plagues. And the wild beasts shall change their places. Why are they going to change their places? Through climate change, through dead bodies, through stench. Death brings beasts. Blood brings beasts. You understand? And these different things are going to change the habitations of these animals. And menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, right? meaning the children in the latter generation that are going to be born into a life where all they know is stealing, all they know is theft, all they know is rape or murder to get what you need and what you want, man. That's the spirit that's going to be on this earth. And the salt water should be found in the sweet. Is that literal? That mean that a man is going to dive in the middle of the ocean as it's dark and all hell is breaking loose to figure out this prophecy? No, it's not literal. Meaning things are in their proper order will be upside down. The salt waters will be found in the sweet, and the sweet will be found in the salt waters. Meaning establishments and buildings and economic places and governments that were once intact for the people, once in order, are going to be out of order. Men that were set up like police officers, right, government officials, are now going to be warring. Men that were, warriors and men of might are going to now be like women. The things that are set in their proper order will be found upside down. And all friends shall destroy one another. See, it says friends. And, that very well is going into false brethren unaware, right? It's going to a lot in the last days that are going to transpire. It says, then shall wit hide itself. So when these things start to kick off, wisdom is going to withdraw itself. Not that wisdom is out of the earth. That's not what this is saying. When it says withdraw herself, who is wit? Who's the manifestation of wisdom on this earth? The elect, the men of God, the 144,000, the 1/3. Last time I checked, the Lord said, let your light so shine amongst men, that they may glorify thy Father which is in heaven. So these men that are once on these streets are not going to be on the streets. Again, verse 9 is saying the same thing all the way down. And understanding withdraw itself into its secret chamber, meaning back into the third heaven. And either you got it or you don't got it, man. Right? Let me go to it. It says Thursday, right, on the Senate on Thursday, failed to advance a pair of competing measures to pay at least some federal workers. By law, federal workers are supposed to get paid, right? Get back to pay once the shutdown ends. But the White House has tried to cast doubt on that. The architectural department, it will reopen about 2,100 county offices, despite the government shutdown, to help farmers address, so like access to $3 billion of aid, man, right? And they're trying to help these farmers because, again, once these things shut down, you're not going to be able to survive and live. We're living in a life that we're solely dependent upon the government. Now, we know we're in this truth, and we know we depend on the Most High, but carnally, we're dependent on these ships. We're dependent on these CDL trucks. We're dependent on these establishments opening up and allowing you to shop and supplying you with the goods that you need for these farmers and these different men from afar, man. Right, let me get this quick precept in the book of Isaiah. This is the book of Isaiah, right, chapter 19. And I'm going to start at verse 5. And the water shall fail from the sea, right? Meaning what? The things that once flourish, because during a sea and by a sea is life, right? If you ever look at, a sea and or a river, you pretty much see life in abundance by a river bank. If you kind of look at, a river, a sea, a canal, right? Any brook, you see life, you see abundance, right? And the Lord said it's going to dry up, meaning when it dries up, that's the fruit, that's the vegetation, that's the land. And all of these things are going to cease. It says, and the water shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. And they shall turn to the rivers far away, and the brooks of the fence, right? I mean, they're going to turn to other rivers, right? Other states, right? Other avenues and ports, if you have understanding. Tempted and dried up, and the reeds and flags shall wither. So even when they dry up, meaning their city and their country, they're going to look to other countries. They're going to look for the outside resources and help, but they're going to dry up. It says, and paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither. Again, if it's sown, meaning it's planted for it to grow. And again, if anything is by a river, it's going to grow and sprout. That's what life is. That's what fish are. That's what birds are. That's what these different animals are. That's where you get, your wild beasts, your clean beasts. They come to the river bank. All of these things bring in life. It says, by the brook shall wither and be driven away, be no more. The fishers also shall mourn. Who are the fishers? Your modern men that go out and bring trade in. These men that are getting, all of the fruit, right? The iron, the zinc, all of these different materials, right? All of the silk, the cotton, these things from afar, the foods, all of these things are imported. They shall mourn because they're going to be one of the first men along with the government that see it drying up. And all they that cast angle into the brook, right? Meaning your fishermen, shall lament, and they shall spread nets upon the waters, shall languish. Because the Lord's not going to bring in, you understand, the abundance like he once did. Moreover, they that work in fine flax and they that weave network shall be confounded. That's not saying all of the old women and the rocking chairs are going to start mourning, man. Who sews fine flax? These are your H&M stores, man. These are your Michaels, right? Your Kohl's, your designers. These are all your men that have all the designer, the clothes, the pants, the boots, right? This is going from your food to your clothing, right? To your resources. All of these things are going to be wiped out, right? They shall be confounded. It says, and they shall be broken. And this is making me remember and link it up to the precept in Second Esdras when it says, paraphrasing extremely greatly, for victuals should be sold cheap. They should think themselves to be in good case. That's why it says they're going to be confounded. Because if I'm a designer or if I'm an H&M and I'm lowering my standards from this shirt being $12 to it being $3 and nobody's still buying it, I'm going to be confounded. That's how bad it's going to be to get things off and how dry money is going to be. Remember in Egypt, people were selling all they had during the time of Joseph, man. Them Egyptians. And they were coming to Joseph's feet trying to figure out how they were going to survive. It says, and they shall be broken, and the purpose thereof, all that make slush and ponds for fish. So all of these things, again, are going to be broken, and men are going to start, withering away. Let me get this quick precept. I quoted it, but let's get it. Let's go to the mighty book of Genesis. And again, this is Egypt. This is Tyre and Zidon. This is the Greek Empire. This is the daughter of Babylon. This is Babylon, right? Let's go to it. Let's go to the mighty book of Genesis, chapter 41. I'm going to start at 48, right? It says, and he gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. And the food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons, right before the years of famine came. So again, you may feel like this, these companies and these men are going to be confounded because they got, food for many years. Don't think that the food, is just for the next, month. You have these men, they have these bug out bags. Somebody gave me a long time ago before I came into this truth. I forgot where. I think it was at a store. I really don't remember. Somebody gave me this bag and they said, keep this bag. You could use it for years. And it was like an army bag, but it was full of food. And he said, rip it open if all hell break loose. And that was years ago. And I took it. I didn't really know what the brother was talking about. Took it to be polite, but they have certain bags that preserve food for years. Sometimes 5, sometimes 10. They have that in the army. So, I mean, just on a carnal level, how much food and things people really have laid up that really aren't going to last them, right? Let me jump down a little bit, right? Jump 54. And the 7 years of dearth began to come, according as Joseph have said, and the dearth was in all lands, but in the land of Egypt there was bread. So when dearth started to come, started to affect all of the land, and everybody came up to Egypt so they could be able to eat. So, I mean, the spirit of a famine is most definitely going to be upon this earth. And I want to look at this real fast. If I could share my screen, so like, yeah, bear with me. See if I could share my screen real fast and get this video. Because we got to dive into this. So like, bear with me. I got a lot pulled up. Got a lot of history, foreign policies, prophecy. You know, I want to dive into through the spirit. Let me see if I could pull this up. If brothers could see this, all praise to the Most High. If not, you know, just let me know. And I'll, you know, figure something out through the spirit, Most High willing. So right here, this is the government shutdowns, and they're shutting down SNAP. For brothers that don't know what SNAP is and or sisters, that's how you get, you know, free food for your children and for yourself if your income isn't, you know, to a certain standard of the state.
And needing it for her kids.
I need to know what's going on. I got 9 kids to feed. 9 babies. And I want to know why they...
She said, I got 9 kids to feed. Right, of my babies. I got 9 kids to feed.
They put my food stuff on their car. I done been waiting. I done did my application. And I got 3 handicapped babies. I need to know why my food stamps ain't on my card. This ain't fair. I don't care about no shutdown or none of that. But I've been calling, everybody ignoring me. I done been here 3, 4, 5 times. I want to know why ain't my food stamps on my card.
Now, others who receive food stamps would take the social.
If brothers could see and or sisters, if you could hear what's going on, just put a con right in the chat. So I don't go through this whole thing. If brothers could hear, just say con.
Media and aired out their frustrations.
I'm gonna tell y'all straight up like this. I just got that text that the link is definitely cut the fuck off for November. Y'all better stay the fuck out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for shit.
She said, you better stay there. You know what? Out of my way when I come into these stores. It's just an average Eve, man. Now, nobody's really scared of her, right? She just in her emotions. But she's thinking in a spirit of, I need this food for my children. And if I don't get it, what's going to happen, man? You know, what if millions of people are thinking like her?
Trump, if you want motherfuckers start looting, it's gonna happen. Before my kids go broke in this bitch like Jock, I'm gonna be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow. I am going to go in that store, get everything I get regularly. I'm going to bag my shit up, swipe my link card as soon as that bitch say,
Salakia for the language.
Ain't no pending balance on there. I'm going to walk the and I'm gonna have one of my cousins with me that'll punch the jet.
All right, she being too lewd. But you get the spirit she in, man. Right? She about business. And she said, look, man, if I gotta come down to it, I'm getting my cousins. I'm getting this, I'm getting that. And people are gonna start going to their weaponry, man. You know, people aren't law-abiding citizens and great Samaritans anymore when these things start to get shut down, man. This is only a taste.
That holiday hit your bitch ass if you think I ain't finna walk.
Check is on hold.
Why would you take away these people benefits? We literally just had to go home because everybody came into my grocery store. I work at Walmart. Everybody came into Walmart bum rushing, stealing.
Bum rushing and stealing.
Like filling up buggies, running out the store, like just putting all the groceries in their cart because he want to cut off motherfucking food stamps. Y'all, this shit is crazy. Like, I think y'all are getting y'all food stamps in November, or maybe some of y'all is not, but like they literally just had to like do emergency evacuation.
An emergency evacuation. Now, I'm just speaking as a mortal man, but I believe a lot of these things are like test runs to see how the public will react to, you know, to a natural disaster.
At our store, because everybody came in going crazy over like food for their kids and shit.
When it comes to some who don't receive food stamps, they will also offer their own perspective about the whole situation and food stamp shutdown. One man would point out how even those who don't receive food stamps will be affected, as he noted that there will be a chain reaction to those who supply food, like grocery stores, butchers, and farmers.
But just think about how big of a freaking disaster it's going to be on our economy, man. All it's going to take is just 1 month of people not getting their food stamps, and watch what happens in those grocery stores. Those meat prices is going to drop.
Now, outside of those who empathize for those who may lose their food stamps next month, According to reports, the only way to prevent this food stamp shutdown is if the government shutdown ends or the Trump administration figures out where to find the money.
And Trump's mind isn't thinking about the poor, man. You're a fool if you think Trump cares about the poor. He literally passed the bill. If you don't know, I don't want to jump the gun. I got a lot, to kind of dive into. Pass bill on taking from poor and giving to rich, man. But he actually passed the bill on that, man. If you don't know, Trump's big ugly law. See if I can find this real quick. It says since October 2025, President Donald Trump has been criticized for signing legislative perceived by opponents by providing tax cuts for the wealthy while reducing benefits for low-income citizens. So if you think this is going to change, you're foolish. It's called the big ugly law, man. Look it up. So, I mean, two, you got to read what you should and you ought to and you better. But two, you have to be in these policies, man. These devils is flicking this pen while I speak, man. There are things being passed. And these things, again, link up to prophecy. So while you're, watching the big game and chilling and doing God knows what, man, there are laws being passed. And these laws are going to affect you next week, next month, next 3 months. So you have to keep watch, man. It says the new law called it's like a One Big Beautiful Bill Act, OBBBA, by Trump administration, by the big ugly law by Democrats, right? Critics was signed in July 2025. The debate over impact on wealth distribution is ongoing. So again, if they're shutting down and these things are affecting the poor, obviously, if you're some rich devil elite, who's eating up all of the food of the earth? The poor. So obviously they will have to take when things start to get real and destruction starts to happen to wipe the lower class out, that it may be enough food for the rich. It's logical thinking on the left-hand side. You don't have to be a scientist or a wise man of Taman, right, to know this, man. Right, the same way if it was reversed and these devils is eating up all of this corn and, hey, look, man, they don't need to be here. They got to get wiped out because all they're doing is taking. They're taking water, fruit, vegetables, meat, and they're consuming it. And we're giving them the funds to do so. That's how the government thinks, man. Why don't we cut them out and let them kill themselves and blame it on loot? Blame it on the people, man. Blame it on the uprise when they're the very ones that flick the pen, man. Total hypocrisy, right? Let's go to it. Let me shut this real fast. Let me go back to it, right? Let me share my screen. Bear with me. All right, we diving straight back into it, right? And again, it's a whole lot that's going on, man. Check this out. Under the former Trump administration, right, according to the analysts of recent proposals and non-position and non-governmental groups, policies would transfer wealth from lower income and middle class households to higher income individuals, man. So these things are being passed right before your eyes. This is achieved by combining tax cuts that heavily favor the wealthy with spending cuts and tariffs that would disproportionately affect lower earners. And I'm a lower earner, man. I'm not rich. I have just enough to get by and do a little things here and there, man, through the mercies of the Most High, to treat my family, man, right, to have fun and, enjoy myself with an outfit or two here and there. I'm a low income earner, man. I'm not rich. And I don't know anybody on this live is rich, man. The Lord said riches are not comely, right? Let me get this quick precept in the book of Sirach. I don't know anybody that's rich, man. Lord said riches are good to him that have no sin. Right? Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 13 and 24. Riches are good unto him that have no sin. So if you have sin on this earth, you don't need to be rich, man. Because it's basically saying you're going to overthrow yourself. You're going to be given into your lust. because you've been so poor, you've been so down, you've never seen the world, you've never inherited this, you never touched that. I wonder what this tastes like. It's going to overthrow you, man. Riches are good unto him to have no sin, meaning you can truly inherit riches in the kingdom. And poverty is evil in the mouth of the ungodly. Meaning certain people that are poor, all they're going to speak about, is evil in the mouth. The Most High given them this and the Most High given them that. The Most High, at least you got clothes on your back. Oh, I don't have designer. Oh, I don't have, chicken and steak. Oh, I'm eating a sandwich. So poverty the same way is evil in the mouth of the ungodly. Now I want to dive into this war that's going on in Venezuela. For brothers that don't know, we're going to dive into it, right? You have to keep watching, what's going on this earth. So let me pull this up through the spirit. So I can bear with me. Got a lot of tabs going. See if I can find this. Let me pull this one up.
This is what Trump's war on drugs looks like.
So if you don't know, speeding it up to date, Trump has issued war on Venezuela, but he's saying it because of the drug cartel of millions and millions of pounds and or narcotics of fentanyl and cocaine being brought into the borders, right, of the Caribbean Sea. They also put a bounty on the president's head of $50 million, which is twice as much as Osama bin Laden that was set at $25 million. So they're serious on killing this man, the president, right? But they're shadowing and blocking their whole president of their understanding of the war being set on narcotics when it's deeper than that, man. We're going to dive into it.
I see boats coming in like loaded up the other day with all sorts of drugs, and we're going to take them out.
We're going to take them out. So all he's saying is all we got to see is a ship and we taking it out.
The U.S. military destroyed these boats in international waters.
Now, for brothers that don't know what international waters are, I want to dive into that too, right? Let me get this real quick, what international waters are. I want, brothers, to understand, what's going on. All right, let me get this real quick. Bear with me. These are international waters, right? So it says international waters or high sea are open ocean areas beyond any country's natural jurisdiction. So international waters are, America has so much feet and or yards or, circumference furlongs, however you want to say it, before they go beyond international waters. And international waters are far out physically, but they also go deep down in the ocean. So after you reach a certain degree of sea level, you start to enter into international waters, even when you go down. Who is this devil to tell you can't go but so far in the ocean, man? Now, I've never even heard anything like that. You can't go but so deep in the ocean or else we could kill you, man. That's basically what international waters could go into. It says governed by a legal framework, right? Primarily established by the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea. UN, right? CLOS, right? They are subject to principles of freedom of the high seas, which grant rights like navigation, fishing, scientific research. Basically, they're saying, I'll let the children play, but don't get too close or we'll kill you. That's basically what this is saying. Now, you can fish, you can navigate, you could be a scientist, you could do research, right? National Geographics, and maybe some wild fishes they off at sea. It says, but also requires adherence to international laws concerning safety and environmental protection, right? Jurisdiction over crimes on a ship, right, in international waters generally fall under the law of the flag state, right? The country where the ship is registered. Now check this out. This is international waters. So you have the top part, which is what boats, kind of travel on. Those are your normal fishers. Your normal men that, go out, maybe have a yacht, your rich men, men that minding their business. They off having a good time. You have certain cruises and they go off, right? They're in international waters. They're relaxed, whatever the case may be. And then you got continental shelf. So now you're getting a little too, now you're starting to, what you doing in there? Swimming and, trying to go down with a foot. Now they watching you at this point. Contiguous zone, right? And then you got territorial waters. So once you get to territorial waters, these are your submarines. These are your men that have high class money to be able to go down so far. These aren't your scuba divers. This isn't you and your woman. I just got married. I want to do something crazy I've never done. And then you just start going like that. You start snorkeling, man. These are your men that have submarines, tanks, right? And all of the things that I can't pronounce. And they go deep down. And once that radar picks it up of the eagle's eyes, and they see that you're in territorial waters, right? They could kill you. And this is the baseline in international, right? Eternal waters. Right, when you're actually going into it. So you got international waters are far off, and then you got, the different levels underneath of international waters. Territorial waters, again, they have drones that follow you in the water and will kill you. And there's no way out in a submarine, right? So these are different things that these kings of the earth have to know. Again, I always say it's a reason why they ain't pushed the bomb yet. First and foremost, the Most High didn't give the charge. Second, right? The Most High didn't give the charge. Third, the Most High didn't give a charge. And fourth, these kings are strategically mapping out different things that could and would happen if they did XYZ that are beyond a civilian's mind. A civilian is, hasting and why is this happening? Why didn't this happen yet? It's a lot of policies and different things that, if you knew about, it would have you to have a better understanding, right? Understanding these devils. The Lord says, study the beast of the field, man. Right? And that's spiritual. Not to be the so-called white man and stick a scope up a skunk, man, and figure out what that is and what that is. Right? Let me go back to it.
Off of Venezuela's shores. Trump is justifying the controversial attacks as targeting narco-terrorists. It's the biggest U.S. military deployment in the region of the 21st century, and it could also be targeting Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro's grip on
Again, Nicolas Maduro, he has a $50 million bounty on his head.
Power. So is this really a war on drugs from Venezuela, or is the U.S. up to something big?
They're obviously up to something bigger. To jump the gun, what they're trying to do is they're trying to set up military bases in the Caribbean Sea. Why they're trying to do this is to have eyes off the coast, situate in these islands, to be able to navigate through radar and to have men with military might that are on these coasts. Now, if they're on these coasts, they have a better opportunity and chance of land soldiers, right? Aircraft, as well as seamen. But if you're just in the sea, you're just in the sea. And again, you have international waters. You have different things and radars you can't pass. You can't meddle in their business too much. So again, one of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to make army bases around the Caribbean Sea. And they're blaming the war upon cocaine, and they're blaming it upon, right, fentanyl, right? And obviously, too, they're trying to take their oil. Now, Venezuela's allies, right, are Russia, China, right, and these different Iran, everything that America's enemies are. So that's another reason why they hate them.
Bigger in the Caribbean. The Roosevelt Roads naval base in Puerto Rico was shut down in 2004. For the last 2 decades, it was abandoned and slowly being reclaimed by nature. Aircraft and
jump the gun a little bit.
Is not only on the island, it's taking place across the Caribbean, with warships, aircraft, and even a nuclear-powered submarine.
Why nuclear-powered submarine? Why aircraft? Why submarines? Why is it so heavy delegated around this area?
And their sights are set on Venezuela.
It's a significant deployment. We haven't seen anything like this in a generation.
Christopher, it's not just a war on drugs, but on terrorism. His administration has designated several cartels and criminal gangs, among them.
See, this is just a reason in a way that they have to show the public why they're doing what they're doing. It's just puppet mastery, man. It's just sorcery. Something to dangle in front of your eyes to keep you sleep with an illusion that they're trying to take away drugs, right? And they say, well, you know what, Trump, I've taken away, I believe, 20-something million, people from fentanyl disease by blowing up these ships. But one thing you could look up right now, and I encourage you to, is that they never found any fentanyl or any narcotics on any of these ships that they blew up. And the hostages that they've gathered are in detained custody of the U.S., and nobody has seen them since.
Tren de Aragua as terrorist organizations.
That's a big one.
The president's thesis is that Venezuela is run by a drug cartel, and Nicolas Maduro sits at the top of that cartel.
This is what Trump posted. Tren de Aragua is operating under the control of Nicolas Maduro. The series of U.S. strikes on drug boats allegedly run by smugglers from Venezuela has killed dozens. United Nations rights experts have slammed
immediate strikes, if you can't tell, immediate strikes. Right, let me get this quick precept. I want to come back to these videos. I got a lot of videos pulled up, but I want to dive into these scriptures. Right, it's a lot of unauthorized strikes, right? They're just killing people, man. They're literally just killing people. Now, it's something called the good neighbor policy, right? That the Americans have formed with a policy, right, for their relationship with Latin America, right? This is the good neighbor policy, right, was U.S. foreign policy initiated by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1933. Now, you already know through the spirit, these devils don't honor anything they say with their treaties. You see that with the Native Americans. They're the thieves and the liars of the earth. Let me get this quick precept. Let me get the classic, man. Let's go to the book of Psalms. And these are things that they have already, pushed and signed that they would not do. So he's not regarding the gods of his fathers, not regarding their policies, and he's just being a complete hypocrite. Right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 55, and verse 20. He hath put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. And why this precept matter is because you have the Venezuelan president. He has offered resources and oil to stop the war. But did Trump take it? He said, I know they're going to do that. They don't want to F with the United States, man. That's literally what he said, man. Let me see if I can find that real fast. Don't want to F with the U.S., man. He literally said that. He said you don't want to F around with the U.S. All right, let me get this quick. Just want to pull that up real quick. So these devils just coming out saying that you don't want to F around with the United States, man. We'll kill you. We'll blow you up. We'll destroy you, man. If I can't find it, I can't find it. I got a lot, kind of going on through the spirit with these tabs. It's all of the Most High. But you can look it up on your own time. He said you don't want to F around with the United States, man. So this thing getting turned up. Let me see if I can find this real quick. If not, I'm going to waste too much time on this. Okay, Con, let me just pull this back up. But he said you don't want to F around. Right, there you go. You don't want to F around with the U.S. Right, he says he put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him and have broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. The words were softer than oil, yet they drawn swords. So again, going into the good neighbor policy, these are certain things that they made. It says that aim to improve relationships with Latin America. Now, these devils don't want to improve relationships with Latin America by ending military intervention and promoting cooperation, man. Ending military. What happened to this act, man? What happened to the Good Neighbor Act? the good neighbor policy. It replaced earlier interventionist policies like the Roosevelt culinary, right, with a focus on right intervenience in an it's like an internal affair of the countries. The policy was also motivated by a need for a better economical tide during the Great Depression and to build right united fronts against the Axis powers, right, in the World War II. Right. So what happened to this, man? It says key aspects of the policy, the United States pledged to stop using military force, man. But who has broke the treaty? Who has lied? Let me get this quick precept, man. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 24. Again, all praise to the Most High that he putting such a bold devil in the office, man. Is making these type of moves and decisions. He breaking policies. He's trying to wipe out the poor slowly right before your eyes. He's passing bills. He's on fire on the left-hand side. But this is the book of Job, chapter 24. And I'm going to start at verse 12. Men groan from out the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out. So those souls that are unjustly murdered are crying out. Yet God layeth not folly to them. You're kind of wondering, when is the Lord going to judge this place, man? When he going to judge Trump? When he's going to lay hold to America? He's not charging folly to them, meaning judgment isn't set to them as of yet. They are of those that rebel against the light. And the light is Yahushua. The light is this truth, and they rebel against all righteousness. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and the needy. That's exactly what America's doing, man. Again, there's no evidence of cartels and narcotics being found, man. You can look it up. Where's the evidence? It was literally an innocent man that was killed on one of those things, and his mother came out. I was watching all these reports all day, man. His mother came out and said, where the hell is the narcotics? Show us some evidence of anything on that boat that they blew up, man. But once it goes past a certain region and a spot in the Caribbean Sea, right around that Panamania area, they'll kill you. They'll blow you up. And in the night as a thief, the eye also of the adulterer waited for the twilight. Why does he wait for the twilight? Because he gets off at night. Saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. And that's what they do. They disguise their face with these policies. With speaking farewells and loves and everything will be all right. What happened to this in 1933, man? It said this pledge to stop military force, right, to intervene in Latin America countries and formally renounce its right to intervene in Cuba, which was enshrined in the Platt Amendment, man. I said, we're not going to read all of this. Check this out. You have something called the Big Stick Policy, man, which was really a policy formed of peace. But if they don't proceed with peace, we have a big stick waved to beat you with. And that big stick was all code word for military might and strength. It says the Big Stick Policy was a diplomatic strategy developed by President Theodore Roosevelt, right? And in fact, right, the use of military strength to achieve foreign policy goals. So they saying, you know what? We're going to pull up on you with a big sword. We're going to say peace. And if you don't yield to that peace, we're going to slay you with this big stick, man. Particularly in Latin America. The policy slogan, speak softly. That sounds familiar. Isn't that Revelation, the 13th chapter, man? Let me get this quick precept. And that's exactly what they do. They speak softly. Their words verbatim. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 13. This is Revelation, chapter 13, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 11. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon. So they come docile, loving, superhero, health, medical. He's the right one. He's wisdom. He's knowledge. He's science. He's these theologians. He's all the education. They're coming in a very soft like manner as a lamb, man. And if you ever held the lamb, touched the lamb, or been around the lamb physically, they're very soft, docile creatures. They're not the type of creature to fight you. You know, they willingly will be laid to the slaughter, man. And that's how they're acting and moving with their policies. And he spake as a dragon, meaning he's coming one way, but he's really another manner. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Why you got to carry a big stick, man? Don't you know that the Venezuela's people in Venezuela, they don't have nuclear weapons? Not only do they not have nuclear weapons, but they've signed policies saying how they won't obtain nuclear weapons, man. And they've honored their policies. Although they have allies of Russia, China, Iran, and other men, you understand? Through the Fab Five. I believe it's called the Fab Five. Let me see if I can find that up. The Fab Five nations supporting Venezuela regime are Russia, China, Cuba, Iran, and Turkey. So that's something called the Fab Five. Again, they don't have military weapons, but that doesn't mean the Fab Five doesn't, man. And you got to know these alliances that these devils are making through oil, wealth, you know, their currencies, and you know the way that they're moving. So it says, speak softly and carry a big stick, meant that while the U.S. would negotiate peacefully, it would back up its demand with the threat of military force to achieve its aims, like the construction of Panama Canal and the enforcement of the Roosevelt Colony, man. And when you go into the Panama Canal, you know, I don't want to jump the gun. Let's see what we got. That's the spirit, the Panama Canal. Since the canal opened in 1914, which was a split that men created so that you wouldn't have to travel all around, right, the Southern Americas to come to the other side. It says the United States paid special attention to protection of the military approach to the Panama Canal. So they were once, you know, for lack of better terms, an allegiance. You know, they were once so-called kind, and they had policies of peace, and then they made the Panama Canal, which bridged those two gaps so men, sailors, and different men wouldn't have to travel around all South America to come to the other end. But now all of that's broken, man. Who breaks treaties through their policies, man? Esau. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Daniel. Daniel chapter, get this quick precept, 8 and verse 25. And through his policy also he shall call craft to prosper in his hand. See, craft is deceit. It's wickedness, it's lies. It's all things like the Lord said, a wicked man worketh and winketh with his eyes and worketh with his hands. That's craft. Like craft should be on the right-hand side, like a craftsmanship. Like somebody that's literally crafting a chair or crafting some type of bed, or, you know, craftsmanship, man. You know, people have masonaries, they have carpenters. See, craft is supposed to be on the right-hand side. But how hard it is to chisel and to engrave images on the right-hand side and sculpt work, it's just how they craft on the left-hand side, man. It says, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. You can't tell me this is not talking about the so-called white man. You can tell through history. You can tell through his own policies and voice. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand, man. And that's exactly what happened. Let me go back to this. So you have the Panama Canal from the Atlantic Ocean, right, which is next to the Caribbean Sea, to the Pacific Ocean, which is next to the Gulf of Panama. And they have made an escape of an avenue for men to travel through. all the way from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific without going all throughout, right, that Southern Americas. It says the Panama Canal, an artificial 82-kilometer, 51-mile waterway in Panama that connects the Caribbean Sea with the Pacific Ocean. And again, I want to dive into the Caribbean Sea and why they're so geeked and lusting to dwell and inhabit that area with the Pacific Ocean. It cuts across the narrowest point of the Isthmus, slacking for the pronunciation, of Panama, and is a conduct for maritime trade between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, right? So, I mean, again, it's a man-made Gulf. It's another reason why they're around that area for travel, right? Look at this. The Panama Canal. The United States under President Theodore Roosevelt completed the Panama Canal after French-led efforts failed. The United States took over the project in 1903 and the canal opened in 1914. Look at this. And again, where is this at? Around Panama, the Caribbean Sea, right around Venezuela. So where a lot of trade and imports come in that you could even read about in the scriptures. Look at this. Right around the Panama, right? In the Pacific Ocean. So right here you have Venezuela in South America. This is the equator line, right? So you have the Southern Pacific Ocean, the North Pacific Ocean, you have the Caribbean Sea. So it's right in the extents of water like you read about in the scriptures. I want to get this real fast. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse 13. It's Genesis chapter 49 and 13. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea. So the haven, it means the shore. And it should dwell in between the waters. Again, you have the south, and you have the north, and you have the Caribbean Sea. And it's rich with oil. It says, and he shall be for an haven of ships. And that's exactly what the Panama Canal, that's exactly what all of those trades of these different, avenues. It's right by the equator. It's literally the perfect place for trade and import and the haven of ships. And his border shall be unto Zidon. Now, that's not necessarily literally going into prophecy unto physically Zidon. Zidon really just represents the Mediterranean Sea when you're actually going into the Hebrew, right? Now, this is haven in the Hebrew. Seashore, coast, and shore. So the Lord said through the prophecy that Zebulun shall be at the seashore, at a coast, and as a shore. I'm going to read that again. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Let's pull that up real fast. Zidon. Which means hunting, an ancient Phoenician city, right? Which were the Canaanites on the Mediterranean coast of north of Tyre, which were the Canaanites dwelt, the Southern Africans. Again, the Mediterranean coast. That's where they dwelt. So from literally that state of the escaping of the sea unto the Mediterranean coast, when it's talking about Zidon, not that physical place, right? It says, let me get this real fast, in Deuteronomy chapter 33 and 18. And of Zebulun, he said, rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. And they shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall suck of the abundance of the seas and of the treasures hid in the sand. So, I mean, what is this talking about? Right? Let me get this real fast. Okay, we kind of jumped the gun. I'm going to read this too while it's here. It says, I asked Google, does Venezuela have nuclear weapons? No, Venezuela does not have nuclear weapons. It is a party to multiple non-proliferation treaties, including a treaty of the prohibited of nuclear weapons, man. Why are you bullying somebody that don't have nuclear weapons? I quoted it earlier, but all praise to the Most High. Don't have nuclear weapons. And that's in a treaty not to have nuclear weapons. And that has offered you oil to leave us alone. You have blown up ships that you cannot prove that narcotics were even on, man. You can't tell me that they aren't the devil of the earth. The Lord said, let me get this quick precept. I'm going to go back to Deuteronomy 33. Let me get this quick precept in the mighty book, right, of Habakkuk. It's Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse number 5. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Many transgressive by his doctrines, his lies, his policies, the things that are strong that you drink, you get confused on, and now he's looking upon your nakedness. It says he is a proud man, and you can't talk to him. You can't sit down with him. Only place he wants to sit down is the situation room, man. Right? Situation room. Let's see if I could pull this up real fast. It's the only place he want to sit down, man. Is the situation room. And what is she doing in here? Somebody's grandmother is going off. Right, but this is the situation room, man. Where they flick their pens, they lust, they lie, they slither, they creep, they crawl, they crevice, they bark, they sneeze, they yell, and they create all the evil of the earth, man. Right? Let me go back to it. It says, Salaki. Got a lot of tabs pulled up through the spirit. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he's a proud man. Neither keepeth at home. You can't really name one place that the so-called white man hasn't set his soul, man. He's been in the Antarctics. He's been in Australia. And these are places he lives and inhabits. He's been in Russia. He's been in Europe. He lives in South Africa. He's in Greenland. He's in North America. He raids and are setting up his CIA base right in the Caribbean Sea to rape and conquer and colonize Venezuela. Right? They're coming out and saying that the CIA is inhabiting the seas, man. So like I know I butchered that. See, this is a lie. But this is what they're saying. It says the statement is not accurate, right? The Central Intelligence Agency, right, is a U.S. government agency, not a physical location in the Caribbean Sea. However, the U.S. military and the CIA are involved in operations in the Caribbean. It's saying the same thing. You mean involved in operations? Literally out of your own president's mouth, he said we have the CIA in the Caribbean Sea, man. Right? AI got to keep more watch, man. It says the coast of Venezuela to combat drug trafficking, the U.S. has been conducting lethal airstrikes. And yeah, they are in the Caribbean Sea, man. Right? It says in late August 2025, the United States began a Navy build-up in the Southern Caribbean. Why? I mean, the links are all over the place. But this is to my point. They have made a Navy build-up. Now I wanna pull this up. If brothers are going to be able to see it, let me know if you could see this. So like, bear with me. I just pulled up a link. I don't know if brothers can see this. I don't think you can. But nevertheless, let me see if I can play it from my phone. So like it, bear with me. Real quick. Had a lot I wanted to dive into. I don't know if brothers could see this. It's like I'm gonna stop sharing this for 1 second to show brothers.
This tiny island in the Caribbean could become America's secret weapon in a war against the cartels. Trinidad lies just 7 miles from Venezuela, a country tangled in smuggling routes, weapons pipelines, and cartel networks. For the United States, geography is everything. From Trinidad, U.S. forces could launch surveillance, patrols, and even rapid strikes straight into cartel strongholds. In fact, American military planes and ships already use nearby bases for refueling and intelligence. But here's the catch. Being this close to the fire makes Trinidad vulnerable. Any U.S. campaign against the cartels would drag the island into the crosshairs. Refugee waves, economic shock, even retaliations from powerful enemies like Venezuela's allies could spill over. To most of the world, Trinidad looks small, but in a cartel war, this
So
tiny...
what they're saying is they want to use Trinidad for basically a stomping ground of different men to have an army base so that they could go to war. Because there's only so much you could really do on a ship when you're in war, right? For lack of better terms. That's basically what they're saying. So it's showing you why the Caribbean Sea, they're lusting over it so much, right? Let me pull this up. Let me go back to Deuteronomy, right? Chapter 33. It's Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 18. And of Zebulun, he said, rejoice, right? All your silver, your gold, your natural resources, your oil. Zebulun in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness. But they shall suck of the abundance of the sea. Now, what does that mean? Let's dive into it. List of countries by proven oil reserves. So you have the rich of the earth, and out of all the rich of the earth, I mean, really, certain things make you rich. In the scriptures, you have cattle that makes you rich. Slaves make you rich. Having land makes you rich. You know, silver and paper money with your oppressors on it isn't rich, man. You know, owning a plane isn't rich, man. Having a ship isn't rich. There's certain things that make you rich in the scriptures. Now, the Lord said the abundance of riches you shall suck. And word suck, and the way it's written, if you have ears to hear, is talking about how you suck the oil out of the earth. It says Venezuela, check this out, over 300,000, right? Oil production, 900,000 years of production, over 885, right, years. So, I mean, you look at who has the fewest oil in the earth is Afghanistan, if I'm not mistaken. It says Morocco right here. Last time I looked it up, it said Afghanistan. I could be wrong. Slovakia. Yeah, Afghanistan. Afghanistan has the fewest oil reserves with 0 billion barrels. So they have less than a billion. Again, that 300 something thousand are billions of barrels. It's not just 300,000 barrels. There are billions of barrels. You know, so Afghanistan, they behind the ball. They're poor. Right? All they want to do is lust on camels and wear gold all day, man. Or their other wealth of the earth. But let me pull this up. So like, let me go back to it. You got Venezuela, which is rich, right? Saudi Arabia, Iran, Afghanistan. It's like Iraq, Canada, right? Russia, the United States. So they're predominantly lower in their money, right, of oil, right, than Venezuela. So the Lord said they shall suck, right, of the abundance of the seas and of the treasures hid in the sand. You have certain men, they're rich, man. Look at ancient Tyre and Zidon. Let's go to this real fast. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 23. This is Isaiah, right? Chapter 23. And I'm going to start at verse 2. Be still, ye inhabitants of the isles, thou whom thy merchants of Zidon that pass over the sea have replenished, and by great waters, the sea of Sheol, the harvest of the river is renewed, and she is mart of nations. Be thou ashamed, O Zion. Zidon and the sea have spoken, even the strength of the sea, saying, I have travailed not, nor brought forth children, neither do I nourish up young men, nor bring up virgins. As the report concerning Egypt, so shall be the sore pain at the report of Tyre. So in history, Isaiah is prophesying the destruction of Tyre and Zidon, which came to pass, later on, when you actually going into it, right, by Alexander the Great, right in around 331 and or 332, where they took down these isles, right? It says, let me dive down a little bit. This whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 14. How are ye ships of Tarshish? For your strength is laid waste. And again, this was an ancient port where they were bringing trade. They were bringing trade, but they also brought in the souls of men. It says, and it shall come to pass that in the day that Tyre shall be forgotten, 70 years, according to the days of one king. After the end of 70 years, shall Tyre sing like an harlot. And there's no account of Tyre coming back into power. Pull this up real quick. In 332 BCE, Alexander the Great conquered Tyre and built a massive causeways to the island city after it refused to rescind man, right? It didn't want to surrender. He also secured the surrender of the Phoenician city of Zion, right, which provided him with ships and support. So he robbed them blind. After 7-month siege, Alexander forced broke through the Tyre's defense, resulting in capture of the city and a massacre of many of the inhabitants and enslaved others. So he enslaved people, man. That's why in the New Testament, the Syrophoenician by nation, right, is classified as a Greek. But in Matthew, in Mark 7, she's classified as a Greek. But in Matthew, the 15th chapter, she's classified as a Canaanite. Because he enslaved not only us, but the Africans too, man. Nebuchadnezzar had many nations in slavery, right? When you conquer down a people, you take their resources, take their language, you take their culture, you take their women, you take everything from them. Let me just get this quick account. Mark chapter 7. All right. In verse number 26. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician, right? By nation, right? Phoenician by nation. It's the Greek. And she besought him that he would cast her forth of the devil out of his daughter. But Yahweh said unto her, let the children first be filled, for it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it into the dogs. Right? It's the same account. Let me get real fast in Matthew chapter 15. All right. Let's get straight to the point. In verse 22. And behold, a woman of Canaan. So the Canaanite is the Syrophoenician, which was the Tyre and Zidon. And the same thing, these men, the Greeks, they conquered. So it's a lot of history you want to dive into that's evidently, proven through history and accounts with the scriptures when you go into it. Let me go back to the book of Isaiah. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah, chapter 23. I want a little bit more on that. It's a little bit more meat on that bone. All right. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 23. Right. And I want to start at verse number 15. I want to read the latter end. After the end of 70 years, shall Tyre sing like a harlot. And that's what nations do. They sing, meaning they enchant. They allure through their lights, their social media, their accolades, their sports, their media, the movies, Hollywood, all these TV shows, sorcery, man. right? Bread and circus. It says, take an harp and go about the city, thou harlot, that has been forgotten. Make sweet melodies, sing many songs, that thou mayest be remembered. It says, and again, this is coming back as America. So you have many, countries and nations that were high level in trade. Tyre, Zidon, right? America, right? You also had in the ancient world, Tyre, right? Let me get this quick precept. First Kings chapter 9 in verse, I'm going to start at 26. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezar Geber, which is both like beside Ezoth and on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent the navy and his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea. Who is Hiram? What nation is he, man? Right? We can read about it in the scriptures. Look at this quick precept. All right, now we gotta knock the dust off of these precepts. But this ain't gonna happen in the kingdom. Right? Let me get this quick precept. I believe that's in chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken. The building. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 5. Right, and Hiram, king of Tyre, right? These are Africans, sent his servants unto Solomon. So who had the knowledge of the sea, right? Tyre and Zidon, all the way from the time of 1 Kings, right? And Solomon, reigned around 900 BCE, with his servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from the thence gold 420 talents and brought it to King Solomon. Right. So again, these are nations that have rich in their abundance. Not every nation was rich. So it's a spirit, when you read Genesis 49, Deuteronomy 33, of them having abundance and sucking the owls, the riches of the sea, especially for it to be an Israelite. Let me dive into this. Go back to this real fast. Share this video so I can bear with me. Share this video so I can bear with me. Most I willing, I could pull this video up.
And the military strikes as lawless and as extrajudicial executions. The strikes stand in stark contrast to previous U.S. counter-drug operations. The U.S. Coast Guard used to intercept such boats and arrest and interrogate suspected smugglers. Now the suspects are simply being blown up.
See, they used to investigate, but now they're just blowing them up. They're just straight up killing people.
Venezuela is deeply involved in the drug trade. It's a very important transit nation.
Jeremy McDermott is co-director of Insight Crime, an organization dedicated to studying organized crime.
Venezuela obviously has an enormous coastline, which is the Caribbean and the Atlantic. The stuff going through the Caribbean, some is bound for the United States, but a significant amount is bound for Europe. But the Pacific is more important than the Caribbean or Atlantic seaboards for drug smuggling into the United States. If we look at this from a drug trafficking perspective, it would indeed make more sense to station this flotilla in the Pacific.
But instead, Trump has zeroed in on Venezuela under Maduro, and it's not the first time. In Trump's first term, Maduro was already charged with narco-terrorism in the U.S., and a bounty was put on his head.
That's $15 million of a bounty that was placed on his head. $15 million. Right, but now, it's all the way up to 50 million. So these devils not playing.
Now that bounty has increased to $50 million. That's twice the amount the U.S. offered for Osama bin Laden.
What Nicolas Maduro has done is he has created a form of hybrid criminal governance. He's not running directly a drug trafficking organization. His regime has made alliances with criminal actors, including drug traffickers, and he is facilitating and protecting these businesses in exchange for the criminal rents he needs to maintain the loyalty to his regime.
So Trump does have a rationale if this is about fighting drugs. The U.S. has a major drug problem. Hundreds of thousands have...
Now, what doesn't make sense with the wisdom that the Most High has bestowed upon us is if you're going to rob and rape the poor for their SNAP and for their EBT and have them in a frenzy and pass bills to take from the poor, who's predominantly doing drugs? It's the poor. So why would you spend millions and millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars on war to strike and kill drugs from coming in if predominantly 90% of the time the drugs are hitting the poor communities? Now, you will have to be a fool to believe the narrative that they paint for the media. Again, they are puppet masters, sorcerers, magicians, wizards. And you have to use the wisdom that the Most High has, man, that bestowed upon you. Now, again, I wasn't able to show, that specific video that I showed through my phone, but they're setting up army bases in the Caribbean, from Trinidad, the different parts, of the Caribbean, so that they could have more surveillance, right, on Venezuela, on Russia, on these different plots that have a stat in the seas.
Died in recent years from opioids, heroin, and fentanyl. Donald Trump promised to stop the flow of drugs. But the size of the Caribbean operation could also indicate something else.
Some think that part of the pressure is, at a minimum, to get the regime to change certain behaviors and provide concessions. And others think that it could be an effort to push Maduro out of power.
And that's what Maduro himself also seems to believe.
El objetivo es entrar y apoderarse de Venezuela y hacer un cambio de régimen en Venezuela.
Maduro has mobilized the population, warning he's ready to declare a state of emergency if the U.S. attacks. Trump has authorized a CIA covert operation.
See, we just was going into that. That's that CIA operation of them being in the Caribbean.
So is the real U.S. goal to take Maduro down? To understand what's at stake, we need to take a closer look at this country, which, by the way, has the largest oil reserves in the world. It shares a land border with 3 countries, and additionally has several island states close by.
I still think that Venezuela is very important geopolitically for the region, not only for the Caribbean, but the entire Latin America and South American geography.
Oskar Schlenker is DW's correspondent.
This no-neck devil, he looked like he's a pedophile. He looked like a creep. He looked like I watching children. This may be somebody's teacher. You got to watch these devils, man.
And for Venezuela, born and raised in the country, he's currently in Germany.
When our country was in better shape, we were the door to South America.
In the 1970s, Venezuela was one of the richest countries in the region. The main reason? Those big oil reserves. For example, here, the Orinoco oil belt has huge potential, but it's far from being fully used. Today, after...
Again, because they don't have the money to do so. So, I mean, all this is a plot and a plan to steal the oil and set up reserves right in the Caribbean.
After years of mismanagement, the Venezuelan oil industry is in disrepair. Corruption and organized crime is thriving, and the population is suffering from poverty, causing millions to leave the country. And growing tensions with the United States led to various sanctions starting in 2005, with Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez.
he had a really anti-American, anti-U.S. Rhetoric. U.S. and Venezuela.
Trump promised to keep the U.S. out of new wars?
We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world. We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone.
But that might not apply to the region we're talking about. Now it's time to look at the
Again, you can't just watch the news.
Caribbean as a whole.
The Lord said, let me get this quick precept. I got to get this quick precept. Let me get this quick precept. And the Lord said, let me get this quick precept. He that is first in his own cause seemeth just. That's what America is. They're first in their own cause. Meaning they're not sitting up there reasoning with anybody. They're not having counsel. They're not humbling themselves. They're always right in their cause, in their mind, in their policies, what they say. He's not going to come out and say, you know, I lied. And he's not going to come out and say, you know what, I did say this 2 months ago. I flicked my pen. You know, now I'm unflicking it. No, he that is right and first in his own cause, he seemed just. But his neighbor cometh and searcheth him. You can't believe everything somebody say, man. It could be your father, your mother. It could be a teacher, right? It could be your wife. It could be your husband, right? And it damn sure is America, man. Because they're right in their own cause. They're always just. Somebody can't always be just, man. God bless them, man. All the flag blowing, and ain't never no corruption, no crime, no lies. If you're always first and seem of just in your actions, there's no humble, no humility, no meekness, no love, no compassion, and pushing yourself down that you could be lifted up, man. It said, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him, man. That's exactly what, you know, we have to do in the last days is we have to search. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 9 in verse right number 1. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men, a man to whom God hath given riches and wealth and honor. And the Lord has given us riches, wealth, and honor spiritually, but also through the precepts and the prophecy, the Lord has given Venezuela riches and wealth and honor, so that he wanteth nothing of his soul. And the Lord may give you that, man. See, the Lord is doing that to us spiritually. You know, nobody's seeking Esau's science. Nobody's going to his schools. Nobody cares about the wisdom he could present you, man. I'll be no better than Eve in the garden. Doesn't matter all the precious things was his covering of the stones of topaz and jasper and onyx. Those things don't enlighten the mind of the wise. But to the curious and the lustful, covetous mind and spirit, you're going to be engulfed in what you can gain from it. It says, he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth, yet God give him not power to eat thereof. But a stranger eateth it. This is vanity and an evil disease. Who's the stranger eating of the wealth, man? Who's this stranger that's eating of things that we don't have power to eat ourselves, man? Look at all the riches that the Most High has given us. The land, you understand? From this part, right, of the river all the way to Jericho and Jordan. And everything you set your foot upon, right, is yours. And we don't have power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. This is vanity and an evil disease. Let me get this book of Job. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Job chapter 20. It's the book of Job, right? Chapter 20 and verse number 17. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. Let's talk about in the kingdom. See, the rivers and the floods is the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding that's going to be instilled in man, woman, and child that keep these commandments, which are ever flowing. The brooks of honey, right? The sweet things of all of the things the Lord has promised us that will come to pass. And the butter is a thick version of milk. The milk are the commandments. The butter, as you whip that milk, comes into butter, which are a stronger level of understanding. It says that which he labored for shall he restore. So everything he has stolen, the Lord says he has to restore it. And where is it all hiding? In his belly. His belly is predominantly, when you eat, you lust and you consume. The Lord is saying he has consumed and stolen all the riches of the earth. He has eaten it, meaning enjoyed it and devoured it, and it's resting in his stomach, right? That's why, on a deeper level, Leviathan got to be slayed, man. So we can inherit all the things that have been stolen that's in his belly, man. It says, it further says that because he oppresseth, right? So like, let me read the rest of this precept. It says that which ye have labored, right, for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down according to a substance, shall restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. Because he hath oppressed, and he hath forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away an house which he buildeth not. What is a house? A nation, a people, man. You got the house of Joseph, man. You got the house of Judah. You got the house of Israel. A house is a nation. It's borders. It's a landmark. It's land. It's something that you have set for your inheritance and your people, man. The Lord has given regions. We read Genesis, the 10th chapter, and the table of nations. The Lord has set up the bounds of the people and what they were inherited by their languages and their tongues, by their nations. So he takes away a house, meaning a land and a people, which he have established not. It says, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly, man. He shall not save right of that which he desireth. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency shall he be stripped. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Right? The hand of the wicked, right, of every alliance he has formed shall fall suddenly upon him as a trap. Like the Lord said, every snare he has made, he shall fall into a snare himself. Right in the book of Psalms, the 7th chapter. When he is about to fill his belly, again, Esau is personified, in certain contexts as Leviathan, which lays where? In the seas. Let me get that real fast. In Psalm chapter 74. Let me get this quick precept. It's the mighty book of Psalms, chapter 74, and verse 14. I'm going to start at 13. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. Again, the dragons, right, is really the makeup, genetic makeup and spirit of Esau, man. His power. Like the Lord said, I saw a beast coming out of the earth, man. It says, thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces and gavest them to be meat for the people inhabiting the wilderness, man. And what are those people, right, inhabiting the wilderness? He gave them to be meat, meaning to be devoured. The same way we would devour, we're going to devour them. It's all hip talk, man. It's not literal. Right, we're the sheep, right, according to the slaughter, and they're the eagle and the wolf. Right, they're the eagle and the lion on the left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, we're going to be the lion, man. And they're going to be the eagle. We're going to devour them and break them in pieces, man. Lord says to be meat for the people inhabiting in the wilderness. The Lord said in the book of Isaiah, chapter 27, let me get this quick precept. In verse 1, in that day, the Lord will slake with his sword, and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan. Now, beasts have no knowledge of good and evil, right? No beast is going to be held to, the dietary law. When a beast is trying to figure out what's clean and what's unclean. You have certain beasts, all they do is eat meat. They devour. It's the reason why they're beasts when you read the book of Sirach, the 17th chapter, man. It wasn't made with cogitation. The Lord speak about the 5 senses, and spiritually, Esau doesn't have that. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Sirach. I'm going to come back to that one. Chapter 17. in verse, right, number 4. And has put fear upon man and upon all flesh, and gave him dominion over beasts and fowls. Talking about man. And received the uses of the 5 operations of the Lord. In the 6th place, he imparted them understanding. So, I mean, you may be able to sniff, smell, see, hear, touch. You may be able to inhabit those 5 operations, but the 6th and the 7th wasn't given to them. That's why he's likened it to Leviathan. That's why a beast can't sin necessarily. You can have an unruly beast and a bullock, right, in the ox, like in the law, right? You got to handle that according to the law. But as far as it being literal is not literal, man. It says, and in the 7th, speech and interpretation of cogitation thereof, meaning your thought process and to interpret the visions and knowledge that the Most High giveth you, man. See, Esau have a dream about a fish and about this and about that, even though the Most High, wouldn't really deal with him like that. Only time that these nations get dreams from the Most High is through that destruction. Look at Nebuchadnezzar II. Lord gave him a dream which was spiritual, but it was the end of his kingdom, right? You look at Balaam. I shall see him, but not now, man. A star shall come out of Jacob, and all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, man. When these nations they have and receive visions and dreams, is to their destruction. It says, and in the 7th, speech and the interpretation of the cogitation thereof. Going back to it, the Lord said he shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. When it says the sea is talking about the nations. Why is Leviathan crooked? The Lord said he has created the crooked serpent. Let me get that quick precept. This is Job chapter 26, right? In verse 12. He divided the sea with his power. Again, yeah, it's literal. He literally did divide the sea. He gave it borders where it can't pass. But spiritually, the sea are the nations. He's given them their heritage, their jurisdictions, what they can't pass, what they can, what they can do, what they can't do. The sea is talking about people as well. And by his understanding, he smiteth through the proud. Now, the proud he's going to smite through is the same thing where the Lord said he shall smite Egypt in 7 streams in the book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter. By his spirit have he garnished the heavens, and by his hand, it's like his hand has formed the crooked serpent. So that crooked serpent is Esau in the spirit that he moves in of deception and deceit. And a lot of animals, like reptiles, they have camouflage. Like your iguanas, your snakes, your different reptilian creatures, they deal with deceit on the left-hand side, even though that, they can't necessarily sin. That's their nature. That's what they're accustomed to through the 5 operations the Lord gave man and beasts, right? So they'll slither, they'll sneak, they'll change into something right before your eyes and change right back. So you got to really peep the spirit of the docile lamb, but he's speaking, as a dragon, right? Let me go back to it. Right, this is the book of, let me go back to that so I can bear with me. Go to the mighty book of Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 30, and I want to start at verse 28. And his breath as an overflowing stream shall reach to the midst of the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of vanity, meaning lies. And there shall be a bridle in the jaw of the people, causing them to err. So the Lord's over top of this crooked serpent, causing them to err, meaning moving the spirit of Esau in the left-hand side, governed by Satan and these principalities over these regions. Don't think principalities don't exist, man. A principalities are a spirit of governed by, angels. You wonder why, Atlanta may have a lot of sodomites. Chicago got a lot of killings. DC got a lot of policies and different bills and, different things of that spirit. A lot of people say, man, I want to go to Hawaii, or I want to go to this place, or I've never seen this part of the earth, and I want to come here. They said it's good pizza, and the people are real nice here. And these are principalities and spirits over these regions. And the Lord has a bridle and a jaw of the people, causing them to error and moving them. It says, ye shall have a song as in the night when a holy solemnity is kept, and gladness of heart, as when one goeth with a pipe to come into the mountain of the Lord, to the mighty one of Israel. Right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 24. It's Isaiah chapter 24, and I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing is fire. I want to start at verse number 6. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left, through the judgments in World War III. The new wine mourneth, the vine languish, all the merry-hearted do sigh. See, the wine on a spiritual level, represents the wisdom and the knowledge and prophecy of the Most High. But on a carnal level, wine represents mirth, gladness, and joy. So on one level, Lord's going to take the happiness of the earth, the dance, the song, the mirth, the enjoyment, and cause languishing and bethinking yourself of the amendments and scourges that the Heavenly Father is going to lay. But on another level, again, the new wine is the understanding of the prophets, revelations, and visions. He's going to cause the vine, which is Judah, to languish, meaning stop, and all merry-hearted are going to sigh. Now that could kind of link up too with 2nd Esdras, the 5th chapter. The Lord's going to withdraw wisdom. It says, and the mirth of tabret cease. The noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp cease. And we're seeing, slowly, not at the vast rate with which we all would love, but we're seeing the slow destruction, chipping and chipping as Babylon is being destroyed. And that's beautiful that the Lord is doing it in the way he is, because, let's really think about it, man. If the Lord were to have destruction happen tomorrow, I was driving, I was at work on my way home from work, and it's like the Lord put me in a little trance. How you daydream, you driving. I was aware I was, on the road looking, but at the same time, I was thinking in deep meditation. And I was kind of visioning as I was driving a bomb hitting. And I was kind of thinking the first thing I would do, because that's how I was going to catch you like a thief in the night. Like, damn, the grid might go down. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how to get home from here. I'm relying on my GPS. You really can't depend on nothing that you have right now. You don't know where you will be, what spirit you're going to be in. If you just came off of a sin, if you just did an abominable act, iniquity, it's merciful that the Lord is doing it and painting this picture so strongly before your eyes for you to get yourself ready. Rather for it to just happen all at once and you're not ready, man. If judgment would happen tomorrow completely, would you be ready, man? Because one thing is going to happen when the door is closed. There's no more repentance. You're either sealed or you're not. Either protected or you aren't. You're either in a safe haven and in the refuge and the pavilion of the Lord, or you're without. So when brothers go over these lessons, they are really for examination also in the spirit, man. For you to examine yourself and get yourself ready for the days and evils to come. Because no man really knows the day, nor the hour, nor time. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Matthew chapter 16. This is Matthew chapter 16. And I'm going to start right at verse number 1. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, tempting, desiring him that he would shew them a sign from heaven. And that's wicked. You're tempting the Son of Man. Through your own disbelief and lack of faith is not his problem. Verse 2, he answered and said unto them, when it is even, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. So the Lord's likening his painting of the sun, moon, stars, the weather, the time of day, to it slowly happening right before your eyes as far as judgment taking place before that door is closed. You're not going to be Egypt is flourishing and you wake up one day, and you blink 3 times, you're in a concentration camp. And you're going to see these policies being passed. different bills, prophecies knocking off. And that spirit of fear trembled, righteous fear is going to be trembled in, man. The Lord said by the hand of the Apostle Paul, without what fightings, within what fears, or within what fears, without what fightings, paraphrasing greatly, in Corinthians. Right? I believe that's 2 Corinthians, the 1st chapter, and or 2 Corinthians, the 7th chapter. Let me get this quick precept. 2 Corinthians 7. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 7, and I want to read. This whole thing is crazy. I'm going to start at 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 4. Great is my boldness of speech toward you. Great is my glorying of you. I am filled with comfort. I am exceedingly joyful in all our tribulation. So yeah, he was joyful, but he's still in the flesh. You may see destruction and be happy, but at the same time, the trembling of your bones set in. For when we were come to Macedonia, our flesh had no rest. He was tired. He was always traveling. Like the Lord said, the birds of the air, have nests, the foxes have holes, but the Son of Man have nowhere to lay his head, paraphrasing greatly. But we were troubled on every side. Without were fightings, within were fears. So you're going to have righteous fears, man. The Lord said, woe to him that is afraid. That's more of a spirit of casting down your confidence in the Lord. Not that man is going to walk through flames of fire without a mindset of what will befall him. Because we all don't know, man. Even in war, as you killing and you slaying and you with the Lord, you still troubled and fear what's going on with my brother. You may be on fire, but what about your niece, your cousin, your family? What about your brothers? What about your wife or your husband? So again, no matter how bold Paul was, within were still fears of the unknown. Nevertheless, God that comforted those that are cast down, comforted us by the coming of Titus. And not by his coming only, right? But by the consolation wherewith we was comforted in you. When he had told us your earnest desire, your mourning, your fervent mind toward me, so that I rejoice the more. Right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 1. And I want to start at verse 7. And our hope of you is steadfast, knowing that it is our partakers of the suffering, so shall ye be of the consolation. Right? Meaning the comforting. As much as you are a partaker of suffering, they're going to be a just balance of the comfort that the Lord is going to give you. For we would not, brethren, to have you ignorant of our trouble, which came unto us in Asia, that we were pressed out of measure above strength, insomuch that we despaired even our life. That's what Paul said, man. And I don't know, anybody on earth that I know that could be anybody like Paul, man. We strive to be like our fathers. We do as much as we can to obtain that amount of strength and righteousness and zeal, and the mercy of the Most High gave those men to even go through what they went through. But if he's going through this, he's despairing his life, he was fearful, what manner of spirit are you going to be in, man? All this debating, this strife, this slothfulness, these demons, your mind, all of these things have to move. You got it, like the Lord said, put off the weak nature, man. It's time to go hard for the Lord, man. And if you feel like you're in a state where you can't do that, call upon his name. I've never seen any time in the scriptures where somebody sincerely called upon the name of the Lord in their innocency, in love, and literally his genuality of really getting to the Lord, and the Lord just slammed the door in his face, man. See, a lot of people, they don't cry unto the Lord. Let me get this quick precept. Let me get about 1 or 2 more. I'm going to close out. Let me get this mighty account. Let's go to Mark. It's Mark chapter 10. All right. Let's see what I want. I'm going to start at verse. This whole thing is fire. I'll start at 47. I'm going to start at 46. And they came to Jericho, and as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the wayside begging. Right? This man wasn't rich, man. This man didn't have, infinite amount of money and knowledge and, all of these accolades, man. He was just poor, begging. But spiritually, what was he begging for? His sight, man. He's begging for a chance, begging for somebody to help him. See, when you beg, it's not always, Jake shaking a can, man. So you spiritually have to beg. You have to beseech the Lord, man. Cry out for wisdom. You don't wake up one day in Book of Revelation, chapter 1 and verse 3. Okay, we got to read. Revelation 1 and 5, okay, made his kings and priests. Revelation 1 and 7, okay, coming from, the clouds of the earth. Revelation 1 and 10, had a great voice as a trumpet. Revelation 1 and 14, okay, arm wrapped around. One was like the Son of Man. Okay, Revelation 20, okay, the 7 stars. You don't just know the pre, you don't just going to wake up and can eat a whole scripture. It calls begging, yearning, asking, beseeching. The same way with spirits, man. Certain spirits aren't going to leave you if you don't do what's necessary to remove them. It says, and when he heard that it was Yahushua of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Yahushua, thou son of David, have mercy on me, man. And you may feel like you in a spirit or in a state where you're too cool, you too, brothers be too cool for school, man. You got to get rid of that demon, man. There's been times I don't want to get too personal, but I had to ask the Lord for me to tap more in, for me to be more emotional toward him, man. Because if you're going to be vulnerable, who you going to be vulnerable to, man? Last time I read, Jeremiah cried to the Lord, man. Ezra cried. Bartimaeus cried. Wisdom crieth out, man. It's a spirit of the children of Israel in bondage crying. Whether that be physical or your spirit, you can't want to be here. You can't love sin. It said that righteous man, it vexes his soul from day to day. Talking about Lot, man. He hated that. He says, begin to cry out and say, Yahushua, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And many charged him. And I love this account because it's so spiritual. Why is somebody charging you to stop crying out to Yahushua? That's one of the most wickedest things you could do on earth. Is charge, lay hold, bind his mouth. There's nothing more than a demon, man. Demons feed on your inner thoughts. Always remember that, man. Your doubts, things you don't fully believe in. They feed on that, man. Like parasites feed on sugar. Leeches, they feed on the back. They suck the blood. Certain things feed on certain. You got abusers and manipulators like men. They feed on weak women to make prostitutes out of them, man. You got people that feed on things of the earth. And don't be fed on, man. Don't be that sheep just eating grass or eating dust and dung, getting fed on. And you don't even know, the lion and the wolf is eating your back. Many charged him that he should hold his peace. But he cried the more a great deal, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And again, we're in the days of asking for mercy. We just came off of a beautiful atonement. Lord willing was mighty. Came off a Feast of Tabernacles. Lord willing, I was mighty. These are days of cleansing, removing iniquity, sin, examination. It says, have mercy on me. And Yahushua stood still and commanded him to be called. And they called the blind man. And you may be blind, man. See, a lot of times, being blind on a deeper level is the knowledge of the truth, the wisdom of the Most High. But you could be blind from the things that you need to remove, man. You may not think that it's weightier. Lord said, he that contemneth small things shall fall little and little, man. Oh, it's not that serious. Not that big of a deal. Tomorrow, next week. You're blind. You're losing your vision. The Lord said in the book of Ephesians, let me get this quick precept. I'm going to go back to that. Let's go to the mighty book of Ephesians. me get this quick precept, man. All right. Verse 18, your eyes of your understanding being enlightened. When you're enlightened, meaning you can see, because there's a veil cast upon you by Esau. There's a veil cast upon you by your own spirits and lust, and it causes you to be blind, that you can't really see clearly the things that you ought, man. Right? It says the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of his calling. Some people can't grasp how deep Yahweh Shai is. This is what this precept is saying. See, the hope of your calling is greater than you just reading every day. That's your hope and calling. Brother, the Lord called you in something greater than that, man. Yeah, you sisters, I just want to cook and clean and put my brick in. The Lord created you to do deeper spiritual things than cook and clean and take care of the children, man. No, sisters are extremely important, as well as brothers. Know the hope of the calling that the Lord called you to, man. You got apostles, disciples. Last time I read, Philip had 7 daughters, which prophesied, man. You got prophetess. You aren't just cooks and cleans, man. Swiffer dusters and vacuum cleaners. You got prophetess on the earth, man. You got women that give excellent, sound advice and counsel to the younger children and the younger sisters. You have elder women. You have a lot of things that you could really grasp and hold of the calling of what the Lord called you into. Instead of your carnal eyes. That's why they need to be enlightened. And what is the riches of the glory of his inheritance, right, in the saints? I mean, you don't really know your inheritance. Hear your father, he died, and you just looked at him as a broke Negro. Right? If you really knew the inheritance, you would have soaked up all the game he was giving you all this time, huh? The time he showed you how to, change your tire, make a tie. Times your father, he told you how to, change out the fluid, and oil change. And the time he, kind of showed you how to box. And, those are the things that are passed down. These things that the Lord is saying, it says, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power to us, Lord, meaning to us. We're not just created to be destroyed, man. God forbid. We could very well be, God forbid. But if it be his mercy, we're not created to be destroyed. It says to us, word, who believe according to the work of his mighty power, man. You got to believe that the Lord could do what he says he's going to do, man. And that's what blind Bartimaeus did. His eyes was enlightened even though he was blind. See, if a blind man can see things you can't, this is more spiritual than the carnal sense of it. Verse 50, and he casting his garment rose and came to Yahushua, man. Your garment on another level is your understanding. When men cast away their garment, you have garments of languish and mourning, like you read about in the book of Baruch. Right, let me get this quick precept. So the garment he was in wasn't, a sackcloth garment. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 5 and verse 1. Put off, O Jerusalem, the garment of thy mourning and affliction. So what was blind Bartimaeus wrapped in, man? Mourning and affliction, doubt, begging, sorrowful spirits. But he cast that away and put on the comeliness of the glory that cometh from Yahweh forever. I'm going to believe this thing, man. See, believing is an in-depth mystery in itself that few grasp and believe. The Lord said that you could literally cast away mountains, man, if you believe. But you have to believe that that's even possible, man. I remember a brother was telling me that this brother told him that he could tell ants what to do. He said one day he was telling all the ants go that way, and all of the ants should start going that way. He said, I don't know if he was praying. I don't know how true this is, but the brother said, look, he told the ants go that way, and all of the ants start going that way, man. Because he believed that thing, man. Right? I mean, you may be damn attacked by a wild beast. You don't never know what's going to happen, man. There are many times I've asked the Most High things that are impossible to happen, and it happened for me. It's neither here nor there, because I'm nobody but dust and ashes. But the mercy and the The vision that the Lord has shown through his actions by you believing shows everything. Cast about thee a double garment. Meaning you have to put on double the righteousness that you're girded up. That's what it's saying, a double garment of righteousness which cometh from God, and set a diadem on thy head of thy glory of the everlasting. Right? It says, and he cast away his garment and rose and came to Yahushua. And Yahushua answered and said, see, first, Yahushua just asked him to be called. See, the Lord, listen to you. But if you speak in vanity, the Lord said God will not hear vanity. Let me get this quick precept in Job. Job chapter 35 and 13. Surely God will not hear vanity, neither will the Almighty regard it. Can you, pretty, please. Turn into Elmer Fudd, man. The Lord said the heathen, they murmur in their prayer. When you come to the Most High, as it states in the book of Hebrews, you got to know who you serve, man. The Lord said through the hand of Judas Maccabees, he had ever sure confidence that the Lord was with him, man. So pray for that. So God's not going to regard your vanity, right? So, when he was coming to him, he was serious. You got to think about it this way too. If you're a manager and you're doing a job interview and somebody's coming in like this, so I have a little bit of experience just in a couple of little teeny places, right? And you kind of looking at them. And this is carnally, man. For me to hire you to run my business and your little teeny experience, you twiddling your thumbs, man. You biting your nails, right? And you spit them in your hand. You save them for later, man. Like nobody's going to hire you, man. It says, and Yahushua answered and said unto him, what wilt thou that I should do unto thee? The blind man said unto him, Lord, that I may receive my sight. And this too, on another level is humbling because he didn't ask for more than he needed, man. A lot of times, Jake, you ask for too much and God does not regard vanity. Here you are needing this, but you're asking for that. Here you are, you're desperately in need of charity. You're desperately in need of this or desperately in need of that, but here you are praying for another wife. You're praying for more money. You're praying for more wisdom. You're praying to, be a better teacher. And you're praying that, not that those things are bad, wisdom and being a better teacher, but brother, you're inward. You're like the church of Sardis, man. The Lord said, thou hast a name that thou livest, but thou art dead, man. It says blind Bartimaeus, it's like it's a spirit. The blind man said unto him, Lord, that I may receive my sight. And Yahushua said unto him, go thy way. Thy faith hath made thee whole. What does it mean thy faith hath made thee whole? Why does he say thy faith hath made thee whole? Let me get this quick precept. Why did he say according to thy faith? It says, this is Matthew chapter 9 and 27. And when Yahushua departed thence, two blind men followed him, crying, saying, thou son of David, have mercy on us, right? Same account. And when he was coming to thy house, the blind man came to him, and Yahushua said unto them, believe ye that I am able to do this? So in this account, it's saying, do you believe that I am able to do this? See, the Lord judged the matter off of their faith. So if you asking the Lord something and you don't believe it, you're not going to get it. But do you believe? That's the same spirit. We read the book of John, man. Right? The 11th chapter. When Lazarus was raised from the dead. She said, Lord, I believe it's that thou can do all things. Can thou raise him? Look, I am the resurrection. Do you believe thou this, man? Do you believe it? It says, believe ye that I am able to do this? They said unto him, yea, Lord. Then touched he their eyes. See, a lot of people, they hasten their blessing, they hasten their premonition and revelation, and they're given from the Most High. It's not on your time, you mortal man. Lord says, cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils, man. To whereof shall he be accounted thereof, paraphrasing greatly. Well, let me get that account. We get about 2 more and close out that account I just quoted in the book of John. It's John chapter 11. And I want to start at verse 21. Then Martha said unto Yahushua, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee. Why? Because Yahushua, he's that, man. He's the king. She knows that whatever you ask, I know you in the spirit, and he's going to give it to you, man. It's the same spirit of believing. Yahushua believed that, man. He was close with the Father. I and my Father are one. Yahushua said unto her, thy brother shall rise again. Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Yahushua said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth on me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth, believeth in me, shall never die. Believest thou this? Why does the Lord keep saying that throughout the scriptures? He's saying that in the spirit, man. Because who's your mediator? Who's literally bringing your prayer to the Heavenly Father? The angels, they bring it up as an incense. They present it before the mediator. The mediator looks at what even goes to the Father, because he pleads on your behalf. And if you don't believe, God will not hear vanity, man. These things won't pierce the clouds, like it's saying Sirach 35. These are things to really consider. Said, believest thou this? She said unto him, yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the anointed, the Son of God, which shall come into the world. Right? Let me get the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 3. It's closing precept. Hey, the spirit may carry you away, man. Right? I was trying to, keep it fully on the government shutdowns and Venezuela and war, but the spirit carry me whether I know not, man. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 1. Unto the angel of the church of Sardis is right. These things saith he, right, that have the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. What you want to do is you want to mimic and follow the Most High. It's a reason why in the book of Ecclesiastes, it starts off the way it does. Right? I'm going to get this quick precept, right, before I close out. In Ecclesiastes, it says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king of Jerusalem. Vanity of vanity, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit? That's how it kicks off. Everything's vanity. What profit have a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? So it may feel like everything's vanity and all your labor you do is not worth it. But the Lord said, with all labor, there's an increase. And how does the Lord kick it off? By all his labor, the sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, the sea, the labor, the animals. He shows you the mapping of his work. First page, when you read and go into Genesis, the first and second chapter is going into his work. So that's how it kicks off, him working. You have to have a name, right, that's not just alive and dead, but you have to take on the spirit of the Most High. Said he had the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. So you have to be on fire and try to mimic that as much as you can. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die. And only you truly know what that is, right? Only you truly know what that is, right? Only you know what that is. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 14 and verse number 10, right? The heart knoweth his own bitterness, and a stranger doeth not intermingle with his joy. What does that mean? Meaning your heart knows your own bitterness. Everybody may not know what you're actually going through, man. Everybody may feel like, you stomp your toe, or your great uncle died, and it's not really were you close to him? It's not that deep. Everything will be all right. Have a beer. Nobody knows the bitterness of each body's soul, man. My bitterness could be different. I may cover it up with laughter, may cover it up with joy. I may want to go out, get my mind off of it. When I come home, it still eat me alive. See, your heart, meaning your mind, knows your own bitterness. That's why examination is extremely important. That's why I said strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die. Who knows who's ready to die? You do. You know what's ready to die. Your heart knows your own bitterness, man. I could tell you, hey, you should do this, and I give you counsel here, but I don't know your heart, and I don't know how bitter it is to whatever situation that is presented. It says, and a stranger doeth not intermingle with his joy. Meaning a stranger can't understand the joy you may have for something, man. You may see your little brother off to school, and that may make your day. Why? Because you're the one that taught him how to write. You're the one that taught him how to iron his clothes. You're the one that taught him how to draw and how to color, and he finally did it, and he's finally on his first day of school. Somebody may not be that joyful for that other brother to witness that for a sibling. So the same way your bitterness is the same way your joy is. A grandmother seeing her grandson come over is a more joy than somebody winning the lottery for $300, man. So again, it goes into you examining and others not knowing the spirit. Right? Let me read it in another translation real quick. Right? New Living. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can fully share its joy. Right? No one could truly examine yourself but you. Stop waiting for this counselor from the third heaven to descend, man. Or this mighty dream out of nowhere. Or don't be a Jew in name. Be a Jew in the heart, man. Be a Jew in the flesh. You're seeking this and you want this to ascend. And brother, it's on you. Last time I read, the Lord said the kingdom of heaven was within you. It says, for I have not found thy works perfect before God. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come in thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So Lord willing, this was edifying. Most High willing, man, brothers, continue to keep watch, be diligent, on fire, steadfast, make your body a living sacrifice, right? Put off the weak nature, show yourself a man, and above all, fear the Most High and keep His commandments, man. We're living in the last days. But with that, I want to close out, giving all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem Mashiach, like Yahushua. Shalom.